So after almost 7 months without any Woolly News episode, I'm filming one again today. So hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my very small YouTube channel about knitting. My name is Isabelle, I am in France, in Normandy, and if you want to know more about me, I have an episode where I talk about myself when I filmed the episode number 100. I will link it down below so that you can have a look if you are interested into that. My 3 cats are in the house. So today it's going to be a Woolly News episode. I haven't been filming one in almost seven months now, and mostly because my mind was quite busy and I did not have enough space in my mind and in my time to gather things that I've seen and that I think are or maybe are of some interest to you in the wool and knitting and fiber community. If that sounds good to you, if my accent, my hesitations and my mistakes do not bother you too much, please stay tuned. Okay, first, what am I wearing? And I may start a podcast, a real podcast. That means only with sound, no video. So if you're not seeing it, I will link it down below or in a description somewhere so that you can see it. But if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm wearing my sorrel sweater that I knit last year. I think I finished it in December 2022. It's knit out of La Bien-Aimé's yarn. It's a luxury treat, a luxury sweater. It's one of my favorites, even though I think like as my children, every of my knit is my favorite at some point. So with merino singles and mohair silk from La Bien-Aimée, I love it. I love this colorway. I love the fade. I had to work a bit too with, what's her name? Julia, I think, in La Bien-Aimée to make the fade. So there is only 3 colorways in the merino singles. Some of them are not on their websites any longer, are not available any longer. So I will link my project from my Ravelry page, and you will see which colorway I used. This one, I love it. I love it, and I still have some left, some mohair left, so I'm thinking about how to be using that in a future project. Okay, first, as a disclaimer, I am not a journalist. So these are elements or news or things that I've seen that I'm thinking that may be of some interest to you. And I usually structure my Woolly News videos in different sections. So you may have to go watch way back to see what I've been used to be doing. And some sections I don't report on them every time. And I usually at the beginning, I used to film about a video every 2 weeks. After that, I moved to about every month, and I think it's a good rhythm. So I stopped because I did not have enough time to gather things of some interest to me and maybe to you. But I've been doing this lately, so I thought that's the perfect moment to be filming a new episode. So I usually talk about patterns, paid for or free patterns, because not everyone can offer free pattern in their lives. Tutorials or tip and tricks, I have not any for today. Trends, I don't have any for today either. I haven't been watching enough, I guess. Yarn companies and stores, I don't have any on that subject either. So I'm going to be talking about books. I'm going to be talking about events after the patterns, and also who I am knitting with, which is um, a s- some kind of a section that I always like to be reporting on, because I listen to a lot of music, and sometimes I watch series. So today it's going to be only about music. So Onyx is winning at the door, and I'm not going to be letting him out because I had lots of technical difficulties this morning. I'm a bit on a rush, and I'm going to be leaving to go to the university. So he's going to stay inside. Just ignore him. He's going to be sleeping somewhere. He's already moving away. Okay, first section, petfo pattern. This could have been into event or also into trends or things like that. Let me talk about the elephant in the room, which is what's happening with this year's 2023 Stephen West's mystery knit-along that is called Geogradient. Geogradient had twists and turns this year, and there was a whole turmoil and drama in the knitting community because the first clue of Geogradient was, to some people, a symbol, a hate symbol. It was showing a hate symbol, and it's particularly obvious with certain color combinations. So Stephen West had said that you should have 4 colors in a gradient of the same tone, or I guess you can do whatever you want and have different colors. But the way the colors were knitting into, it was a square, and I won't show pictures, and you can find them if you want, they are all over the place, with 4 sections, and the combination of the way the colors were playing together in this first clue was a hate symbol. And some people pointed that out. I'm going to be very, I'm going to be trying to be very soft, because some people have absolutely not been soft. And so we're very vocal about that. And they were right to be very vocal about that. And what is sad to me is that he handled it the best way he could, or anyone could handle that situation, because he redesigned the first clue. He had other options in the pattern, so he picked up one of the other options as the main clue one, and he removed the previous questionable, I would say, pattern. And then this is when people got really upset, because some of them were saying, well, I'm not seeing it and whatever. This is when the knitting community can be very similar to some other community. This is a worldwide community, and I'm going to be looking at right now as I'm filming, and let me find my tab again. Right now they are 5,878 projects. So that's a huge event in the knitting world and in the knitting community, where many people from many different backgrounds, many different cultures gather. And whenever you host such a global, worldwide event, there are things that have to be not to be overlooked. And one of the things I'm really sensitive to is, first, when you write typos and spelling errors or grammatical errors. And when I do write things myself into my own work, I usually have someone proofread, because once you deep inside something, when you read and read and read again to find mistakes, you don't see the mistakes sometimes, because you have in your head what's going on and what you want to develop and etc., and you are too close to what you are doing. So having another eye look at that, whether it's a professional proofreading person or a colleague who can proofread, to find mistakes, because they haven't written the words, so the mistakes or the spelling errors are going to be popping up right in front of their eyes where you don't see them. So proofreading, and the second thing is colors and geometrical shapes can lead to very questionable representations or symbols. And these two things, for hate symbols or anything related to sex and genitalia and stuff like that, have to be very closely watched. And I have a hard time to imagine he was the only one doing this. I have a very hard time to imagine there is no team around him. And what I'm gonna be taking out of that is, first, he did handle it the best way he could, removing everything that was the clue that was questionable to the vast majority of people, ignoring the ones who were saying, well, but I want to need that. Okay, you need that if you do want to wear that type of symbol. He made a few videos. He was very stressed and even cried, because I think it was something that touched him very deeply inside, and he did not see it coming. And so modifying the pattern was the only way around that, and to be continuing with this project, because it's €8 and 40 cents. I don't have the equivalent in dollars, or you can adjust for your own currency, over almost 6,000 people, or 5,800 people. And in the long run, more are going to be knitting it, and it's only the number of people who bought the pattern and made a project on Ravelry. So that means maybe there are a few hundreds or thousand more who do not do that. So it's everywhere. He handled it the best way around. And I'm going to be talking about one thing I've already talked about, and I'm going to be pausing because I've written it somewhere and I don't have before my eyes, and I don't want to be making a mistake. Okay, so I found it again. So what I was thinking during this whole event and during this whole drama, and I don't want to stir more drama, the word that came to my mind was Ubuntu. I've already talked about it a long time ago. And some people from Africa and Southern Africa, or from these cultural regions, commented that they were so very happy I would say the word. Ubuntu is more a philosophical concept that has been translated, most probably not with all the very subtle nuances and that it means, but it's something along the line, I am what we all are. And so you may comment to tell me more precisely what this philosophical idea means to you. But I discovered Ubuntu, it was in 2004 or 2005, whenever the Linux distribution came up. And so I looked around for the meaning of this word, and it's a very, very inclusive word. And so I am what we all are, and I am what the whole community, the whole knitting community is. And Stephen West, by reacting the way he was, saying, what he meant was, I want to be inclusive and include everyone, and I don't want to hurt anyone. And to me, there is some Ubuntu into it. And this is what should guide us when we are in a very global community with many people from very different backgrounds. And if we want to be inclusive and not necessarily politically correct, I'm not saying that at all, but we are a whole and we are part of this whole. This whole is the sum of everything that we are. And I am what we all are. Okay, so this happened a few days ago. Clue 2, as I'm filming this or recording this, has been released. There are 4 clues in total, so it's over a month, I think, or a bit over that, because sometimes clues take a longer time to knit for people. You can take all the time you want. Stephen West releases videos where he guides you to knitting whenever there are some, or there might be some difficulties. The only MKAL from Stephen West I've knit was Sleep Extravaganza, and I've knitted 2 years after the event. And I had decided not to knit this one. First, because I don't like all of his mystery knit-alongs, and I'm not really ready to buy a pattern I'm not going to be knitting. And you know, I will also link it. I have a no by year project that includes also pattern, because after buying too much yarn, I got into buying too much digital patterns. So I was saying, okay, let me see what this one is going to be looking, and if I like it, I will buy the pattern and knit it at some point when I'm ready to cast on. I'm not quite sure. We'll see, and it has nothing to do with all the turmoil and drama that was around this mystery knit-along. I would knit it with the new Clue one or something else, whatever. I'm not sure. I'm going to be waiting to see the final picture, because there are not many of his mystery knit-alongs I liked. Sleep Extravaganza was the only one. And I have to say that when I knit Sleep Extravaganza, I had a look at his videos, all the tutorials he made around knitting that shawl. And it's an extensive library resource of just knitting tips and tricks that you can gather and use for other part of your knitting. So I'm also going to be linking his playlists. I'm not sure, or either his YouTube channel or playlist about his mystery knit-alongs. But Sleep Extravaganza, I love the shawl, I love the piece I made. It's really the only one. I have 2 additional patterns in my library that were mystery knit-alongs because I bought books from him. I'm not sure I'm going to be knitting them. I don't know. So I'm going to be waiting and watching what happens next with the 2 additional clues that have not been released yet. I will see if I like the shawl, and if I do like it, I may knit it at some point, or I may not. I have so many other patterns in my library, so I don't need an additional one that would be sitting there. The last thing I would like to say about this is, or 2 last things, maybe 2 last famous words. The first thing is that I usually end up my videos with placing positive thoughts into my stitches and sending them out to you, because sometimes I can't go beyond all the black thoughts and dark times we are living in, and I can't do it for myself, so I'm thinking I may do it for you, either specific ones of yous or just the general you, and placing joy and happiness into my own knitting. And if I place these positive feelings into my knits, into my little stitches, it builds up positive things into my life. Maybe it's only one row. So that's the one thing. If you're knitting Stephen West's MKAL this year, or whichever other knit you are working on, please place positive thoughts into your own knits and no drama and stuff like that, because we have enough of that. You may or may not know, 4 days ago, as I'm filming this, there was a French teacher who was murdered by knife, and 2 other people heavily wounded. Their life is not in danger any longer. Last night, there was a shooting in Brussels, on the side of a soccer game, I guess, and someone killed 2 people from Sweden because they were from Sweden. And I think the soccer game was maybe Belgium and Sweden or something like that. But anyway, there were Swedish people in Brussels because of this soccer game. There's still a war at our door in Ukraine. My cats are playing. There's a war in Israel. There are enough dark events happening in the world without having us to add to that with our knitting. So please place joy and happiness into your knits. Okay, so my cats have been playing hard. You know, when cats who know each other very well and live in the same house can play, and it's sometimes borderline fighting. They don't harm each other, so I usually let them do their own thing. So I hope they won't come playing next to me. Again, I had to stop recording because of that. Okay, so let's try to be moving to something more, a bit lighter and a bit more positive. And I would like to highlight a free pattern. I usually do that in my woolly news. I usually try to find a free pattern that may be of some interest to you. And this pattern falls into the category of a lot of paid-for patterns that are very simple, that to me are borderline not justifying whichever price they are at, whichever price they are at. I'm not sure it's worth it. And this was one of my ideas behind designing my own little free pattern and my own little trendy little scarves, as I called it. I will link it also. So this is not, there are many free ones that have been released as little scarves, and it's been trending for over a year now. And this one is a shrug. I've also seen shrugs that were released recently or in the last 6 months that were paid for patterns. Good, you do you. This one I like a lot because the color combination, maybe the fact that it has a real color and it goes over the shoulders, that will keep you warm with a tuck-in part around your neck, and I'm always cold around my neck. So let me tell you, it's Freeze Warning by Yaya Loves to Knit, sorry. And this shrug is really a perfect example of what to me should be a free pattern. How many projects are they? Have I opened? I have opened that. 109 project as I'm recording. So it sits on your shoulders as a yoked sweater, except that this one is knit with bulky yarn, so it's a bit bigger, and you can play. You can play with your yarn, you can play with the color work. There is a stitch motif, you can play with that, you can change it. And as it is a free pattern, you can adjust it and customize it to your own needs the way you want. That's also, if I may go back to the previous subject, something I like with Stephen West projects. He usually, and patterns, he usually encourages you to adjust it to your own liking, and I do love that. And he usually also gives direction on how to change in his own patterns. Use some other yarn, use mohair where there is no mohair in his patterns and in the original pattern. And if you can't use mohair, use something else. And he recommends color combinations, and of course he says that you should do your own thing. So this is what I like with a free pattern. You can read through it, you can adjust it the way you want, you can recalculate or change needle sizes and colors and stitch motifs to whichever representation and final project and knitting object will suit your own needs and will make your heart sing. So yes, that's what I like. And this is a shrug. You have many others that you can find free on Ravelry. Just this one I like, the color combination and the stitch combination. And you should have a look for yourself. Okay, so there is a cleaning device somewhere in the street, cleaning the streets. I think that's what it is. I hope you are not hearing that too much. Okay, so next subject I want to be talking about is a book. And it's a book that I discovered watching one of the latest episodes from Roxane Richardson's. I also will be linking this episode down below. I'm not sure it's the latest because when I see things I want to be watching on YouTube, I usually have private playlists. I put the videos in the private playlist, and whenever I have time, I play this playlist, and I have several subjects that I'm following, and one of them is about knitting, of course. So what Roxane Richardson filmed, one of her last videos is about tech editors. And she interviewed two of them. And the two persons she interviewed are Kristina McGrath and Sarah Walworth. I am so interested in such kind of videos because it's a way to know more about what's all behind the scenes when people make patterns, write patterns, edit patterns, and how they publish it and everything. And if you recall, I already reported on what La Bien-Aimée from La Bien-Aimée, Aimée from La Bien-Aimée, is doing whenever she releases books. So far she's made 2, and each time she had videos with either or both the author of a pattern and the test knitters, and it was so interesting to me. So it was organized as a knit night and a chit chat, but it was so interesting to me to see which was the process for the designers, the choice of their yarn, the way test knitters did interact with the author and maybe had comments on the patterns, and how all of that led to a published book. It's a very, very strong interest to me, and maybe you can relate that to my first subject. Anyway, so what last videos I've seen from Roxane Richardson was about two tech editors, and they will publish a book. I've pre-ordered it. Whenever I saw the video, I said, okay, it was at night, so I bookmarked whichever book I bookmarked that, and I said next morning I'm going to be ordering it. So I pre-ordered it. It's the Knitting Pattern Writing Handbook, so by Kristina, McGrath, and Sarah Walworth. How to write great patterns that knitters will love to make. What a program! What a program! And it's I really liked the way they were exchanging, because it's a whole process. It's a very long and very important process to be going to a perfect pattern, or as perfect as can be. And so these two persons, Sarah and Kristina, have also a YouTube channel that I will link also down below. It's Tech Tip Talk. And I've watched their latest video. I'm not sure I recall who was invited, and it also was in the form of an interview. I will write it down below. Someone who's also tech editing and offering classes on tech editor, how to tech edit a pattern, and also about styling the pattern and fashion of the pattern, because sometimes what you are saying, and which is very true, people mix what's part of the fashion design and what's part of the tech part of the pattern. So it was extremely interesting to many, many, many different levels. And I'm really into that right now. I'm not at all looking to write patterns or anything. The book will be published at the end of October 2023, on October 31st. I will link the ISBN references so that you can look for it and maybe order it or find it at the bookstore or an online bookstore next to where you are living. And yeah, please have a look, and maybe have also watch the tech editors, their own channel. It's very, very, very interesting. And I have a new microphone. I've had a new microphone for a few videos now, maybe a month and a half ago. And last time I was very hungry, and I could hear my stomach grumbling. And my stomach is grumbling right now, and I hope you won't be hearing it too much in the video or in the soundtrack. So next, events. Knitting events. So there are two worldwide or famous worldwide events in the knitting community that are going to be happening in the next few days from when I'm filming, and most probably Woolen Folk, who's going to be on October 19th. It's going to be past when I publish the video, because I need some time to edit, and I have a heavy week. So Woolen Folk on October 19th, and also New York Ship and Wool in Rhinebeck on October 19th to 23rd. So the next weekend. You can find everywhere on the internet people who are going to go there, what they are going to be wearing, what are they plan to be buying yarn and things like that. So it's a very New York centric event. Some people are traveling from all over the world to go there. Good for them. I would very much like once in my life to be participating into such an event, but I doubt, maybe one day I will be able to fly for a week around New York and maybe organize other things for some other events, and see, so New York State, so see, meet with people we see on videos and on Instagram and in all the social media and on Ravelry and everything. So these are two big events. I'm going to be stopping here because I've seen how many people were in Rhinebeck last year, and it was humongous, humongous. Okay, I did not find it. I've seen it somewhere, and if I find it again, I will write it down and I will put it in the description. So Rhinebeck, New York Ship and Wool has been running since 1980. So this is also a reason why this event is so popular. It's been going for a long time. There are many things happening around this festival about, of course, ship shows and contests and vendors and exhibits and many different things happening that are not only related to the hype and to the knitting influencers who are going to be there and showing off whichever sweater they have knit and things like that. But you can follow the hashtags on Instagram. You can follow other parts of the community. People are going to be making videos and stuff if you are missing out. And yes, there will be a huge media coverage, or at least social network coverage with that event. What I would like to highlight is another event that is going to be happening in France. It's one of the biggest ones. I did not talk about, because I had not made a video last month, about the Knit It Festival in Lyon. It's a big event already. A knitting place, and where you can at the same time knit and eat, even though I've seen some people saying that the eating part was not that big this year. But there are also many vendors from Europe, and many different exhibits, and stuff like that. So the next big event, if you are ever in France at this time of year, Knit It is at the end of September, and there is the Journée de la Laine in Felletin, Journée nationale de la laine, the National Wool Days. It could be translated in Felletin, which is very close to where the Fonty mill and factory and yarn producing is. And there is a very heavy tradition for fiber and fiber work in that area. You may know Aubusson with the tapestries and things like that. They are from the area, and it's a bit on the same kind of idea. It's not only wool and sheep, it's all around the fiber arts and fiber community. Of course, there is wool. Of course, Frédéric from Atelier Pure Laine is gonna be going there and will be showing off her wool and selling her wool there. But there are more than that, way more than that. And it's been going for about 20 years now. And a few of the numbers for today's or this year's edition, there are 140 vendors, and it's from all France and Europe, and not only for wool, but lots of people, and it's a very crowded event too for France. Last year there were 20,000 visitors in 3 days. That's a lot for such a festival, for such an event. So everything around wool and fiber and of this area, which has been doing this for centuries. And also there are some kind of workshops, I would say, where you can have initiation or more advanced sessions with people who are weaving and knitting and felting and things like that. So yes, if you are ever in the area, and I would very much love to be going there one day maybe. Also, you can go visit Fonty and Terrade, which is another mill. You can go there, and where they also spin wool. So yes, many events at this time of year, whether it is in the United States where lots of people are going, whether it is in my own little area in France, and I am sure that wherever you are in the world, there are knitting events happening, whether it's at this time of year or at some other time of the year. And if you are going to such events, please tell me down below, because this is something I would very much like to be doing one day. I can't for now because I can't have several days out of my work, but maybe one day I will be able to. Okay, so last section for today. I usually like when people talk about what they are watching, whenever they are knitting, mostly watching. I haven't seen much people talking about music. And my last section is who am I knitting with? You may have seen me on other videos. I usually listen to music. There is always music in my house, and whenever I am on the go, there is always music in my ears. And I would like to talk about one group. I will have to go through my archives. I'm not sure I've been talking about them already or not, and I think I have been. It's Khruangbin. It's a group from Texas, yes. And they have made a collaboration with Vieux Farkat Touré, and they have made a recording and an album together. I thought I had the CD next to me, and I did not. So their collaboration between the two is called Ali. So you can see it, the name of the group, and Vieux Farkat Touré, who's I really love. I have several of his albums already, and Khruangbin I have, if not all, I have a lot of their album already. And it's a very, very soothing album. It's some kind of a fusion between Africa and world music that Khruangbin is doing. I love what they do. It's quite of a unique vibe for Khruangbin, I would say. My son Paulin, my youngest son, who's a musician, made me discover Khruangbin, and he said, "You're gonna love that," and he was very, very, very right. So this is a very soothing album, and I do encourage you to have a listen on whichever platform you're listening music from, and please tell me down below if you liked it or not. And if I'm talking about this collaboration, it's because I was so interested in an upcoming collaboration that has been released right now between The Orb and David Gilmour. Two of my loves. It's called Metallic Spheres. I don't have the album. We'll link everything down below, and I may place a picture. I'm not sure I can do that. But this collaboration, I was thinking, when I heard they were going to be doing it, I was really expecting the outcome, because The Orb is a very prolific and very unique artist. In the electronica sphere, are we going to see, and a bit more avant-garde, and a bit on the side of the mainstream. Extremely interesting. Sometimes there are things I do not like much, but most of the things they've been doing, I loved. David Gilmour is also one of my loved. I have already talked about Pink Floyd, and I have all of their album, even though to me the Pink Floyd I liked stopped with Animals. That's the last album I love from them, but whatever. And I was really expecting for this really metallic spheres. I'm really disappointed. Go have a listen if you would like to. As much as Krungbing and Vieux Fercatouré do really collaborate and mix, and there is some kind of a fusion between their two music and two contribution, and they talk to each other and they exchange things, and that melts, that morphs one into the other, and that makes a very unique album that is not completely Krungbing, that is not completely Vieux Fercatouré, but sometimes something, a mix of the two, and I really like the outcome. For the Orb and David Gilmour, they are just side by side. The Orb does what he does, David Gilmour does what he does, and they don't mix. It's David Gilmour riffs, guitar riffs onto the Orb music. That's all. No interest to me. They don't bring anything to each other. It doesn't melt, it doesn't morph, it doesn't become something else. It's just two artists playing together on the same album, but like a puzzle. Maybe it goes together, okay? I'm not sure saying it's bad or anything, but I was very, very disappointed because the Orb doesn't bring anything to Gilmour and Gilmour doesn't bring anything to the Orb. They are doing the same thing side by side. So please have a listen to Krungbing. Please have a listen to Vieux Fercatouré and have a listen to Ali, which is their collaboration. And please tell me what you think if you like them. Okay, so that's going to be it for today. I hope this Woolly News series was of some interest to you, or it did entertain you or keep you company when you were knitting, while you were knitting. I hope that it was not too heavy at the beginning and that we can continue on more positive notes and feelings and ideas. Yes, and I do hope you are managing to place joy and happiness into your life, because it's not coming all by itself, and especially in these very, very dark times. And I hope that your knitting is bringing you comfort, that your little stitches are bringing you much joy, that the projects you are working on are filling your heart with positive feelings. And I thank you very much for being here with me. I thank you very much for being all of you and making me all of you what I am. And I hope I will see you next time.